I'm Brandon Strange, joined by ESPN Houston's Charlie Pallilo. Charlie, welcome in. Let's talk some baseball. We anticipated that the abbreviated 60-game season would amplify the importance of everything, but here we are not even out of the first series, and the Astros are already finding themselves in an incredibly important franchise-defining moment where they're having to make some major decisions. So let's get into that. The team was already thin at pitching coming into the season, both on the big team and in the farm. Now they've lost JV for an undetermined amount of time. They've been sitting on their number one farm prospect for quite some time, and they weren't ready to add him to the main roster at the beginning of the season. Are they still not quite confident that he's ready to play at the big league level?
Shortest answer to that is yes, though I probably should be expanding on that some. So here goes. Whitley, their most touted minor league pitching prospect in years. It's been star-crossed at best to this point. Last year, he was woebegone. I mean, just brutally bad in the minor leagues. He's had injury issues, performance issues, a PED violation suspension a couple of years back. Nothing on the merits should have had Forrest Whitley on the Astros roster, even the expanded 30-man roster to start the season. On top of all that, there's manipulation of playing time, subject to what the next collective bargaining agreement will be. But under the current rules, the Astros, no way we're going to have Whitley earning service time until at least a week into this season. Everything is pro rata. Normal season, he'd had no chance. If his ERA had been 0 with no hits allowed in 30 innings in spring training, he would not have been up the first 2.5 weeks of the season. 60-game schedule, no way was Whitley coming up the first week of the season. Now, necessity as the mother of invention, will they move with Whitley pitching just down in Corpus Christi in intra-squad JV games to think maybe he can help replace JV? They'll need to come to a decision on that. They do have alternatives to try. Greinke is critical that he rounds into form. McCullers' first start, so far so good. Josh James, you cross your fingers. Framber Valdez, you cross your fingers. Jose Urquidy on the pitching side, like Yordan Alvarez on the offensive side, hey, they've finally been cited. They're in Corpus Christi. In Urquidy's case, as a pitcher, it's probably a good 3 weeks till maybe he's ready to be called up. They could go to some so-called bullpen-style games. They're carrying all these extra pitchers, a bunch of young guys. Maybe Christian Javier gets a look as a 2 or 3 inning starter, and then you have Brian Abreu and a cast of several beyond them. But if they're just not getting satisfactory answers to all the questions on that pitching staff now, opportunity could knock for Forrest Whitley, though I don't see him as a top priority right now for them as a save our season, or at least help save our rotation solution, because nothing he's done in the minor leagues indicates he's ready quite for that job. I also think there's a little element of you don't want to reward poor performance with the opportunity at the major league level. Pitch 22, I guess, in this case, more than catch 22. Well, how can he impress since he can't be pitching in the minor leagues to show that he's ready? What can you judge off his stuff and whatever circumstances they'll have him pitching to live hitting down in Corpus?
It's no secret that Jeff Luhnow really valued Tucker and Whitley in the farm system, really valued them as prospects. And Whitley was considered untouchable. Has this regime change now perhaps changed that because there are new people making these decisions? That's the first part of the question. And the second part is, if that is in play, if it is much more in play that he gets moved, is it more valuable just to hide him than it is to bring him up at the major league level?
To the first, certainly a new regime is less likely to be wedded to the prospects acquired by predecessors. For as disappointing as Forrest Whitley has been in terms of being a prodigy who will rocket ship to the major leagues and be one of those special ones who's there by the time he's 20, 21, obviously that's off the table. But he still has yet to turn 23 years old. He's still blessed with a tremendously gifted arm. So if you can harness that talent, and when you look over the longer time horizon for the Astros, I mean, Verlander could be done. But at the outside, he's a free agent at 38 years old after next season. Greinke is up after next season. So if they truly believe in Whitley's talent and character to be a staple in the rotation growing forward, I think they'd still lean toward being loath to trade him. Certainly for a short-term fix in a season, who knows if it will be played to completion. Anyone you acquire in trade is not going to be a dollar-for-dollar replacement for Verlander. Would you part for Whitley if you think you're getting a 60-cent patch as opposed to a 45-cent patch? So if I'm going to guess, Whitley He'll debut with the Astros if these 60 games are played, but he's not going to be counted on a guy to go into their rotation and really bail it out. His potential remains very high. Of course, one definition of potential is everything you have thus far failed to achieve. Plenty of can't-miss guys wind up missing. The Astros hope that the ultimate arc of Forrest Whitley's professional career exceeds that of, say, Mark Appel, another one of God's gifts to pitching prospects who amounted to literally zero in terms of never appearing in the major leagues.
If the rumors we're hearing is true and that it is like Tommy John that's going to be necessary for JV, if that's truly and his season's done not only this year but next year, how much more important is it that that Forrest Whitley develops into somebody who they can count on, or how much more is important that they cash in on the value of what you said, his perceived value?
Where is that perceived value, right? That would be the question, because otherwise the Astros minor league system now, it's graded one of the weakest among the 30 franchises because the Astros have already promoted so much major league talent that has flourished, and they've also parted with other prospects to acquire guys like Verlander and Greinke. But Verlander, if he's done, the Astros are on the hook for $33 million for him next season with the other looming financial questions they have. I mean, it's always very valuable to have some cheap quality talent, but magnified if you have sunk costs into the tens of millions of dollars. So I don't think they're looking to cash out on Forrest Whitley, especially since within their organization, they really don't have more than maybe one or two other guys who'd project as top 100, 150 prospects across the minor leagues.
Does JV being out, would that in essence make it more viable of an option that the Astros cash in on a lot of these guys who are in the final years of their contract? Can they get more value? Is now the time to rebuild if they're going to do it?
I don't think so, because there's still a quality nucleus. If Verlander's done for this season, it is devastating. But the Astros goose is not absolutely cooked, certainly not in this format. They still project as one of the 8 best teams in the American League. And with this 16-team postseason format, a best of 3, then a best of 5, a couple of best of 7s, the Astros can viably win any short series they're in with any other team, right? You want Greinke to come through, McCullers to come through, figure it out after that. But they have an offense which is elite and could be super elite. They're 1 through 6. And then if they add Yordan Alvarez, in 2017, the Astros offense was awesome. They were 5th in the American League in ERA. That's a little bit of a Trojan horse argument because they were better than 5th once they added Verlander for September in the postseason. But in short series baseball, if you at least have one dominant strength, which could be their offense, it is a little bit of a sliding scale of the level of pitching that they need, because bad teams can beat good teams, best of 3, best of 5, best of 7. The Astros were totally stacked last year, went 0-4 at home in the World Series against the Nationals team that won through 25. You wouldn't have taken the Nationals roster over the Astros roster. So I don't think you'd be looking to have a clearance sale if you're the Astros by the end of August. And again, they'd be such super short rentals. I think it would devalue what you could try to get in return for those guys, even if you said, hey, let's look to trade George Springer or anyone else who's up this year. And I don't think you want to be looking to offload guys who can still be material contributors next year, say a Zach Greinke, unless you're just looking to slash costs, and the Astros should not be in that position.